a very interesting topic today. We are going to be taking a look at leading versus managing and how that difference can make or break organizational growth. My name is Mandy, and I'm the engagement champion at CoreClarity. And I have to say, we could not have picked a better person to chat with today, especially as we honor and celebrate Women's History Month. I can't wait for you all to hear the story of Deborah Jarmon. Deborah is a retired civil servant with a 27-year career in the world of air traffic control. After her retirement, Deborah relocated to San Antonio to be a close-by grandmother to help teach her grandchildren the importance of their legacy. Deborah's personal mission of love and service for family and community led her to open a bed and breakfast in the King William area of San Antonio and named it after the family matriarch, Eva Green Williams. Eventually, Deborah realized the commitment of the bed and breakfast would prevent her from spending that quality time with her grandbabies, and she sold the business. After selling the property, Deborah turned to community advocacy with a mission to connect the African American community to each other, opportunities, and history. Her new position as the CEO and director of the San Antonio African American Community Archive and Museum, also known as SAAACAM, is now providing an opportunity for her to carry out her mission. Welcome, Deborah.
Hi, Mandy. Hi, everyone out there in Facebook land. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for being here with us. We know we're super lucky to have you because you are one busy woman. You have had quite a year and would love for you to just start off by giving everybody out there kind of the rundown of what has happened over the last year in your life, going back to March of 2020.
Well, other than COVID-19 happened in everyone's life, I was minding my own business, and that's tongue in cheek, working at Dream Week San Antonio, which I loved. I was doing that, and a few of my friends suggested that I apply for a new position, actually the first position, so it was really new, at the San Antonio African American Community Archive and Museum as the executive director. And I said, when the first person asked me, I said, yeah, no. I worked long enough. And then a couple more people asked me, and then I started praying about it. I said, Lord, maybe this is something that you have for me. So, okay, just think about this. March 13th, 2020 was my first day at work. And the country basically shut down on March 16th. So we were housed at a historical home in San Antonio. And we were renting from the owner of the home, Hope House Ministries. They are, and actually the owner of Hope House Ministries is one of the founders of SAAACAM, George Frederick, and the other is a National Humanity Awards winner, Everett Fly. Got to make sure I say that because I wouldn't be here, and SAAACAM wouldn't be here if it wasn't for those two gentlemen. So anyway, the house needs a lot of work. And so Hope House said, okay, after the end of the lease, which was July, we need to do a serious capital campaign. So SAAACAM, you need to find another location. That was number one. Then number two, our esteemed chair of the board, who actually was behind me being hired, resigned from the board. That was number two. And then, okay, did I say COVID? How many times can I say that?
Right, COVID, so, 10 times over, yes.
So then we needed to change our platform, which at the time was a monthly open house where we had speakers come in and the community come in to talk about relevant African American historic events in San Antonio. So February was the last one, and that is also rodeo time in San Antonio.
Okay.
So for February of 2020, we had Black Cowboys, and we also talked about Black history. So that was the last time we were open to the public. So we had to move. We had to figure out, like everyone else, how do we change from a in-person platform to a mobile platform? And mind you, my museum experience is everywhere I went around the world, I went to museums. That's my museum experience. Right. Now, I've been to a lot of them. I can't tell you how many and all types, but that was my museum experience. And I love history. So figuring all that out, so blessed. And I was just telling someone, God's timing is perfect. In COVID, we were able to hire 3 people to create a staff. We found a location with the Whitty Museum. They are 100 years old. And she called me, the CEO, Maurice McDermott. Okay, when you come to San Antonio, go to SAAACAM and go to the Whitty. She said, I hear you're looking for office space. Okay, we're new. SAAACAM has only been around since 2017. And so to have a museum reach out to you that's 100 years old, and then I'm trying to figure out, well, how did you know we were looking for office space? And we end up with a suite of offices. So everyone has their own private office, conference room, break room. It's over 3,000 square feet of office space with now the support of the oldest natural history and science museum in San Antonio.
Wow.
There you go.
Amazing.
Then we had to find a place. We still needed an exhibit space. So putting those feelers out, we were able to write an RFP. And any of you all out there know about how you have to write a proposal for something at your city, county, or state government. That was more than a notion. So we had to write an RFP and bid on a space that just happened to come available. Again, that's God. There aren't really coincidences. So anyway, happened to become available and we won the RFP. So we moved in our new exhibit space on March the 4th. So new board, we have 5 new board members. Like I said, new staff. We are hiring 2 more staff members. So that's kind of it in a nutshell, Mandy.
Wow. So you, through all of this, and even just, I mean, COVID would have been enough, but you had all these additional hurdles and you were still able to grow this. I'd love to kind of dive into your approach with doing that, because I know that you're a firm believer in leading versus managing. And when we had contacted you to talk to us, I thought I guess I use those terms interchangeably for myself, not really noticing that there's a big difference. But you are of the philosophy that there is a big difference. And can you kind of share with us how you use that method through that year of growth?
Yes. So this is going to be my example, and all of you leaders and managers can appreciate this. So I find myself, now that we have an exhibit space that's open almost every day, I am managing schedules. I am managing leave opportunities. I had to manage my calendar to make sure that I had space to talk to you all today. I don't want to manage people. That is a challenge. But what I do want to do is lead people to be able to excel in their gifts, in their strengths. And I just believe, and CoreClarity is such a great platform for this. when people operate in their strengths, yeah, you may need to manage them every now and then. Okay, hey, did you remember to sign up for this subscription? Those kinds of things. Well, again, if you do it up front and talk about this is why it's important and why this is good for you, then I don't have to write a memo saying, I had to tell you 4 times to sign up for this subscription and now we need to take further action. No, no one has time for that. But you always have time to show up every day being your best self and encouraging your team to be their best self.
And to
I
see
hope
their
I hope I answered that question.
Yeah, from what I'm gathering, the strategy then becomes to empower each individual to be what they're great at, and a lot of that is looking at the talents, like you had mentioned. That's something that CoreClarity does. For those of you who may be listening that aren't familiar with that term, talents, strengths-based organizations. These are organizations who really lean into their people's unique talents. And what we mean by that are, these are naturally recurring thoughts, feelings, and behaviors that can be productively applied. Well, strengths-based organizations are organizations that lean into their people and capitalize on those talents, those differences among the staff. And so I see that you are teaching them you're empowering them to be who they are. Did you always know that this was the way to get the most out of your people? I know you said that maybe it just always was that way for you because you do have this talent of individualization, which for those, again, that are listening may not know, they instinctually see the gifts in people. These are people who are very good at seeing the gifts in others. Not all of us are like that. So is this something you knew from the get-go? Leading versus managing?
I think so, but I didn't realize, Mandy, that is what it was. What was very clear to me, and it's been clear to me for a long time, is I don't really care what your job description is. And being a government employee, that's a little challenging, right? It's like, no, but they don't fit here. They fit over there. And trust me, if we can move them over there, we will be better at this. So job descriptions, I just kind of, okay, this is what I did with SAAACAM. There was a job description that we used, and we interviewed people based on that. After the first 30 days, I had them look at their job description, and I went through it with them. Each bullet, is this working for you? Is it not? And then, why is it not working? And it could be that it just is not their gift, and it's okay, because I'd rather focus on what is working and find some other way to fill that what is not working, because I recognize the value that they brought to the table. And then also give them the opportunity to add to their skill set if they want to. Again, and I know this may sound too touchy-feely for some people, but if you have people working where they want to work, or if you have them working where they want to learn, then you're going to be successful. And that's my job as a leader, to provide everyone the tools that they need to be successful in what they do. And that makes our organization work.
What happens when you've got somebody who maybe doesn't see that about themselves, or maybe they're a little apprehensive to maybe really lean in to their gifts, and maybe just don't know yet what they are? How do you handle that kind of a situation?
Well, okay, I used to be a cheerleader, for real.
Okay.
I was a cheerleader, so I cheer them on.
Good, I like it.
I remind them, and oh my gosh, I wish I had this earlier in my life, but I remind them that this is what they were made to do. And look at how well you do this. And if you couldn't do it, you wouldn't be in this position, because I believe that things are divinely appointed. Now we can stray from that. But again, in looking at, I really try to lean in, what are they good at? And so I remind them and show them the evidence, the fruit of their labor, right? So remember when we did this together and how well you rose to the occasion? You can do this. So that's, sometimes you have to be a coach, a cheerleader. Yeah, sometimes you have to parent, but see, when you get to that parent role, then you kind of step more into managing.
Okay. That's a good example, because I love the examples. I think for some, this may be a difficult distinction between the two. It's like, where are you kind of crossing the line over into managing? And I think, it's good to provide those examples for people to understand what you mean by that, because it is an interesting take on it.
It is. And what I try to tell my peers is, you have a choice. You can lean into leading, or you can get buried into managing. And I would rather cheer someone on, provide effective coaching. And coaching is not something that you do when someone is in trouble. Hello.
Right.
Not when they're in trouble.
Right.
You provide constant feedback and provide constant coaching. So we have weekly staff meetings. Our staff meeting yesterday was 4 hours. I know, it's crazy for a 4-hour staff meeting. And I'm apologizing, and I bring food sometimes, but we start out with an I statement. And, some people are like, well, I don't want to do an I statement. So, you have to pull them aside and say, this is why we want you to do an I statement. Because, and I don't care what it is. It could be, I'm sleepy, I'm not feeling good. It could be, I feel great, I feel over, whatever it is, because now we're all in touch with where you are. And if you don't want to share, now I only allow that one time. You can say, I don't feel like sharing once. You get one pass, but then you have to share. So as a team, think about a well-oiled team. Look at Brooklyn Nets, if I have any basketball fans, right? Everyone has to pull their part, and you have to know what your teammates excel at and where their limitations are as well.
Yeah.
So.
Talk to me a little bit about digging into your employees' uncertainties. You kind of had spoken to me about the importance of finding out where they're uncomfortable, where they're uncertain about things, and how you go about helping them get through that. And I know, the cheerleader piece of it, but what's that benefit of really uncovering some of those uncertainties?
So, first of all, you really have to know your team, know your employees, pay attention. You can tell when someone is uncertain about something by look at body language, look at perhaps their voice changes. So really pay attention to those things, and don't ignore it. Have a conversation with them about it, and just be straight. Hey, I noticed when I mentioned that, or when you did that, or when I said something, you seem to be a little bit uncomfortable about that. Can you tell me about it? And just that easy. And they may say something and you didn't get the answer. And so then my next thing is, tell me more. Mm-hmm. And you listen. And then you can ask, how can I support you so that you can see the value that you bring to this organization? Yeah. And listen, and they may not know. So that's where, as a leader, you need to lean into why you're there. What are the resources that you can provide? Who can you tap into to help you with that? It could be a call, and I'm not crying because the subject matter is so intense. It's my San Antonio allergies. I'm so sorry. But anyway, who can you call? What book can you read? You have to tap into your own resources perhaps, which could be outside of yourself, to find out how you can support that employee. But you need to be able to talk to them. So leading is having those water cooler conversations, those break room conversations, maybe those after happy hour conversations, those kinds of things with your team, so you really know your team.
Yeah.
And it's listening. You have to listen and pay attention to the body language.
So, how do you get to the point where you show your employees that by leaning into their gifts, by understanding what they bring to the table that is unique, how that affects organizational growth? Because I know, for instance, I think you had used an example when I spoke with you once about media training. You being very comfortable in front of media and that being an important part of working at SAAACAM and growing that organization, but not everybody was there. So how did you handle that situation?
So one of the things, we did a couple of things. First of all, I shared with them, you all know we're in trouble if I'm the only one that can talk to the media. Because if I don't show up to work tomorrow, that's a problem. And we do have media that just shows up at our door. So they all agreed that that was a problem. Great. So we don't have a spokesperson. We don't have the budget where we can hire Viola Davis to be our media spokesperson. So that means you have to do it. So we contacted our media consultant and said, hey, can you come in and provide training, not just to the staff, but to volunteers, whoever want to show up? And that's exactly what happened. So that cost me a little bit of money, and it has gone a long way. So they got to test that out quickly. The next day, someone showed up at our door to talk about a program. And I looked at our program director and I said, you can do it. And she looked. I said, I'm going in my office. I have a call. And I shut the door. It's like I know they know the mission. We have an exercise that we do for every opportunity. Does it fit the mission? What will our stakeholders have to say about this? And we go through that. That's one of the reasons why our staff meeting was so long yesterday. So I knew she could do it because we do it every week. And then a couple weeks later, our curator and our archivist, if you know anything about museums, you know that these are like behind the scenes people. They were on television uncovering a headstone in someone's backyard, and they did so well. I was so proud of them. And they said, you're not coming? No, I am not coming. Because if I come, what are they going to do? They're going to look at me. No, they can do it.
They can do it.
Yeah.
You're giving them confidence. You're empowering them.
Yes.
And I love this whole concept of really tying, your employees to the mission of the organization, especially with something like SAAACAM. How important is that for them to be connected to the organization's mission?
So any employee, any volunteer, any board member, anyone connected to your organization out there, if they don't understand the mission, if they don't have buy-in on the mission, your organization is not going to go anywhere. And then you have to have a real clear understanding as to how the mission impacts your stakeholders. For us, because community is in our name on purpose, our stakeholders are the community. So how will the community at large, not just African Americans, San Antonio is over 60% Hispanic population. When you come into our museum, you have QR codes that changes what we have in English to Spanish, and that's on purpose. So we think about how will our community be affected by this? And everything that we do goes through that lens, and we do it corporately. Did I answer your question, Mandy?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. So I know you've seen a lot of growth. You've seen growth within your people. You've obviously growth with your staff, the number of people. You've grown how much you're open. You said, I think at the beginning, you said you were just open at a couple times a month when you first started. Was that right?
One day a month.
1 day a month. And you're now open how much?
So through the end of the NCAA Women's Final Four, we are open every day.
Every day. Wow. So
Every day.
you've seen a ton of change. What are some of the biggest changes you've seen in terms of, you know, this whole empowering people to be who they are? What are those big changes that you're picking up on with people? I mean, you obviously shared this whole confidence of being able to speak to the media. Are there other things that you're seeing?
Oh, absolutely. So we have a diverse staff. That's number one, and we have a diverse board. What I see is the staff really embracing why African American history, culture, why it matters. The community is understanding why it matters. I've seen a huge change in me. You know, leading an organization is it requires a lot of knowledge. So I am reading all types of books. I have Audible books right now, and well, I've always had them, but I'm listening to them more and more.
Mhm.
So just the understanding that even in a city where you wouldn't necessarily think that there is a big um, presence of African Americans in the history, because there's only 7% African Americans in San Antonio. People are finding out, well, no, African Americans have been here since the 1500s. So that's before the Jamestown, the record of enslaved Africans coming to Jamestown in 1619. Africans arrived in the San Antonio region in 1529. And we take everyone on that journey and how that has shaped our city and our region. And everyone is embracing it, from the mayor to the county judge, down to other museums. We have over 24 cultural organizations that we partner with. I mean, it's phenomenal. And we have a staff of 4. Okay, 4. We have 8 board members and about 50 volunteers. So we're changing the lens of so many people. And also I want to give credence to the timing. I mentioned timing. I experienced the longest almost 9 minutes of my life, like everyone else did, in May, with the murder of George Floyd, looking at Breonna Taylor, and on and on and on. But recognize that this is the reality that African Americans live with. And I've lived with it for 63 years. So yes, the timing helped as well, because now people are looking at, maybe there is something that we can do different to appreciate everyone's history, especially people of color. Yes, we're an African American museum, but I talk about most people of color, our history has not been recorded because we were not the ones that conquered. And that's typically who writes history, is the conqueror. So did I answer your question, Mandy? Because I could really go on and on.
No, I love this insight into your world, and appreciate all the time you've spent with us. I know we're kind of nearing the end here, and I want to make sure that we mention how people can get a hold of you, how they can be in touch with SAAACAM, which sounds like such a phenomenal organization. You're growing it. You've done a phenomenal job by leading. Can you share with our folks that are listening how they can reach you and SAAACAM?
Yes. So you can go to right here, saacam.org, O-R-G. We have 12 digital exhibits online. We have a number of research papers from one of our university partners, Texas A&M in San Antonio. It's about 20 of those available. We have some short stories that you can read. If you're in the San Antonio area, if you're coming for a vacation, we're steps from the Riverwalk, so you can always stop in and see our exhibit space. We have a brand new Black History River tour that's an hour and a half long that you can take to find out just about African American history in the center of the city. So go to SAAACAM.org and find out more information. On our website is our phone number, and also you can reach out to us a couple of ways on our website for media and speaking requests. And it may not be me, you've already heard that. Okay. For media and speaking requests, there is a form on there for that, and also just to sign up for our newsletter. Follow us on social media as well.
Awesome. You're such a blessing, Deborah. Thank you so much for being here with
Thanks,
us today
Mandy.
and sharing. We appreciate you.